Let's see here. Hello. All right.
Oh,
Hey.
how's everyone doing?
Hello.
How has everyone's weekend been?
It's been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
How's your
We
work?
had a veterinary incident yesterday that my bird had like its tail feather started bleeding,
Oh no.
which but it ended up okay. But those can be scary because they can like bleed. It's like getting a a vein cut or something. So, but he's okay. We just spent yesterday at the animal emergency room.
Ugh, I hate that.
Lots of fun.
No. Were you there all day?
Yeah, mostly, but we're lucky that we live super close to it. So we were able to be like, we're taking a walk around the block and then just go home.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they can call us. But other than that, all good. Yay.
That's so good. I went to the pet shop and I was admiring some birds.
Yeah.
They're so cool.
Yeah, it was funny. It's like he had an injury before that was a similar kind of thing. So I think this was just opened it back up. But what happens is like when they have a super complex like landing sequence, and when they go to like land, they push out their tail feathers, and those can like kind of help to cushion things and bring them down. And there was a point before where he had kind of an aggressive trim, and so he like was coming in hot, I think, and it ended up like that. So now he has his trim is a lot better, so he can like fly around and stuff. But I think he just has this pre-existing injury, pre-existing condition. Yeah.
That is so fun. I tried to get my dog insurance because he's old as hell, and they were like, he has a pre-existing condition, so I can't
Yeah.
get insurance. So I'm like, animals can't even get a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need like a bomb animal care.
Yeah.
Bomb animal care. Yeah.
That would be great. I would love that.
Cool. Should we get this party started? Yeah.
Yes. And we're recording as well, so everything's all set and
Hey.
ready. Yes.
Hi, recording. Hi, future people. We're coming to you right now from the past. And yeah, I hope that all is good in the future. Cool. Who wants to get started? And I'm going to be listening and grabbing coffee, just real quick. But Zenzi, I'll let you take.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so we have our issues. We have as a user, I want to mark an item on my shopping list as purchased. And then we have the other user that we want to see the welcoming prompt when we have to enter our first item on the list. So two really, really good ones, two really juicy ones. So I'm really excited to see what all of you managed to do this week and to hear the highs and lows of it all. Which team wants to get started? I'm just going to pick add the first item with the welcoming prompt because that is the first ticket on the list.
Sounds good. I'm going to start. I'm going to share my screen.
Sure.
Okay. You guys see everything okay?
I have black. Okay, yeah, now we're good.
Okay, cool. So our criteria for this week was to, if you sign into your list and there's nothing on there, to show you a welcoming prompt telling you your list is empty, and to have a link leading you to the add an item page so that you can add your first item. Let's see. And this is the wireframe they gave us. Basically just has a small message here and a link to the add item tab. Hold on one sec. There we go. All right, so here's our app. When you join, create a new list. It shows you your shopping list is currently empty, and it has a link to the add item page. And we add an item. And you go back to the list of items page. It says your items, your token, and it shows the item with the checkbox. And then we go to the code. So most of ours was in this return statement.
I'm
So,
not seeing it yet. The code.
oh, sorry, hold on one sec. I think I selected the app and like the browser instead of screen share. There we go. See it now? Okay, cool. So when you send a query to the database, even if you don't have a token, it'll still send you back an empty array. So we couldn't just do docs, we had to do docs.length. So to make sure there's items inside the array. And if there are, it shows you the list of the items with the checkboxes. And then if not, it'll show you here is the paragraph saying your shopping list is empty and a nav link to the add item page. We played around with like seeing if a regular link would work, but it didn't. So we put the nav link in there. And then since we got that done pretty quickly, we also refactored another component. And Cole's going to talk about that.
All right. Sorry that took so long. Yeah, ours wasn't nearly as juicy as theirs. So just noticed that we had a form that wasn't really, that was kind of had the same issue that the one that Mike showed us last time had. And that was right here, I believe. Where basically we were doing a check outside, and we put everything in a form so that the HTML was doing the check to see whether an item was there or not. So that's what we did. And we moved the, what do we do here? I think I'm on old code or a different branch.
Yeah, I think you are. I don't see the form anymore.
Just do a quick git checkout main. And possibly a git pull. Hey.
Okay, there we go. So basically, you saw the code before that didn't have the form there. So we put the form tags around the little input where you add an item. So basically, if you try to add an empty field now, it will pop up and say you have to add something. And we also noticed we put everything inside a form, but it wasn't working, and we forgot about how you put the handle submit up on top on the submit on the form. So if you ever run into that kind of slowed us down for a short period of time. And that's pretty much what ours was.
Oh, great work. I certainly have a question. The first is last week, Jess, you mentioned wanting to decide whether a button or a link was appropriate. And how did you decide? How did you come to your final decision? Did you and Cole talk it over?
So we thought about styling as a button, and then we basically kind of deferred because we know at the end we're going to be doing all the styling as kind of a group. So we figured we leave it as a link for now, and then later on have it fit, with the rest of the app. So we just left it as a link. Yeah.
Does anyone else want to ask any questions?
Just want to comment. Good job. Noticing that missing form and adding it in there. That was really great.
Yeah, I think I'm the one that worked on it last week. So when he mentioned during the last meeting about, oh, the native HTML required and all of that, I was like, wait a minute. And I went back and checked and I was like, So since we had extra time, I was like, hey, show me how to do that to this input we did last week.
Yeah, and I mean that happens all the time, especially when you're like, ooh, shoot, I made that mistake 2 weeks ago. I'm gonna go fix that right now. But yeah, cool.
And I think Hans maybe already commented in the code review that like enjoying the ternary, the use of a ternary. I love a good ternary, and I think I think you see them more often in React. Maybe that's just me, but I like it. I like when you can just keep it kind of short and sweet and readable. So congrats on that decision as well.
And I saw that there was a use of kind of slight shorthand. So rather than saying docs.length is greater than 0, you just said docs.length, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, that's just a choice that you can make, but it's kind of a cool shorthand, what I usually default to.
Cool. Yeah, that's the first time I've actually used it. I was like, so I knew that you could use it for like if it exists, like if it's a null or not, but I think that's the first time I've used it for like greater than 0. So
yeah, and it's gets into falsiness within JavaScript, right?
yeah.
That 0 is falsy and so is false, and so it's just looking for truthy or falsiness. So it's like 0, okay, then that's falsy, so I move on to the next one, right?
Yeah.
Cool, really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I guess we can move on to our issue about marking the item on the shopping list as purchase. Had a lot of, well, not a lot, but some interesting time issues to conquer. So I'm curious to see what we have in our presentation today. I'm going to let you guys take it away.
Steph, you want me to start off?
I code up. I don't care.
Okay.
You want me to?
Yeah, you go ahead and then I'll finish.
Okay. Okay, so our issue was somewhere. I promise I haven't pulled up. As a user, I want to mark an item on my shopping list as purchased so the app can learn how often I buy different items. So the first thing we had to do was figure out like the date stuff, which I don't even know if we have the code on this file, but we kind of figured out because for Firebase, it started in like nanoseconds. So like the first day we were trying to just get back information that we understood, like, because we didn't know what that was in like real time. And then we were talking with other devs and they said that it might be a good idea to use a set timeout for it. So we implemented the set timeout and had it fake working because it wasn't connected to the database, which we needed it to be. So we didn't like know what to do next. And at this point we were already at like over our 5 hours or whatever the collab time is. So then we asked in office hours, and we were still trying to like get it to like the database to read the information, and it just like was like, nah, I don't like that, do that. So Mike had to help us. Thank you, Mike. Because we just kept running into like roadblocks. I think eventually we could have got it, but I don't think we could have gotten it in the time that we had put in and like more time. So, but now, sorry. So now it's here. Here's a checkbox. And then one of the things with the timestamp that is really wonky, besides that it's wonky, is that it starts counting, like the Firebase timestamp starts counting from like 1970. So we were like trying to figure out how to still use it because it seemed like the easiest thing to use because we're using Firebase, but it was just like just wonky. It was just a wonky thing to sort out. All right, that's all I have to say. Hans?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, it was wild. It was, it was, I know that, yeah, like Steph said, we both reached out to like other devs, which was really helpful. She is like a friend that is a senior, and I actually reached out to Lindsay from last cohort because she was in the last one and she was in my thankful cohort. And it was just cool to, and then Cole helped us, and the whole team was a part of it. So let's see what I can bring up. I'm going to, even though I wasn't in office hours, I do apologize for that. I'm going to show what Mike magically did for us. I was looking at it and I was like, what the? It's like obviously like great, but I was preoccupied with other things. So it was really cool to see like such a different solution. Let's see, where is my screen share? Here you are, desktop 1. Can you see it okay? All right, so here's this, the whole thing. And then what Mike did for us, which is, I know we played around a little bit with the, if the timestamp is greater than the time we want to set. But I know we were also really set on doing the set timeout because it was really cool to see that work. But alas, we didn't get to do it. So I see that we have a couple different states, which is really great, which, this state holds the date that we can compare it to the timestamp. The loading, I was looking at it and I think I wasn't quite sure. So I was like, maybe Mike can tell me what he was doing it for. But essentially you put it in the query, right? Where you could like fetch it, it's attached to the database. And then this use effect has the, what encompasses like the actual is clicked, right? Like this is what will happen when we click it. And then the is clicked has the check. So, the last purchase date, which we attached to that with our set timeout, but it wasn't for anything. So now it actually is used for something and it returns it and it has that magic in it. And yeah, thank you guys. Sorry, I feel it was just such a while. I was like, I was talking to Steph. I was like, I wish we could have made it work too, because it was so cool to see it work for a second. But thank you so much, Mike, for letting us. It was a wild week. Again, it was really hard. It was really tough. But so I don't think I said a lot of anything, but thank you for listening. And now we can, I know that this way that we did it will help us in the future tokens too, or the future issues, which I was looking at. So I appreciate it so much, guys. So, yeah.
With that in mind, I'm glad to see some comments in there so that no matter which pairing gets that next ticket, that next issue, they're able to kind of decipher an issue that they didn't necessarily work on or have 100% of the, hitting that brick wall. You learn a lot. So, so it's good to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. And to be fair, the comments might be Mike, that might be Mike's work. It was, like Steph said, we spent a lot more time than we probably should have. I know for me, once we were down that road, it's like we committed to that type, which again, if there was more time, or if this was like our full-time job, right? Like, I think that we would have figured out it wasn't the best road to go down, and found ourselves to this solution. And so Mike definitely saved the day with all this. And so, but it is beautiful. It's such great code. It's really nice code. So, and it works really, really well. I was like trying to unclick it and I'm like, oh, it is 24 hours. I will see that tomorrow unclicked. So, but the comments were really nice. Even me coming into it and reading it after I had missed office hours, I was like, oh, this does make a lot of sense. So.
One last question, and then I'll open it up to the group if anyone else has any. Did you try any of the acceptance criteria test, or how did you test that it was working once after office hours?
For sure. So we were, since we were doing the set timeout, the method itself takes in seconds. And so we just had a variable that accounted for 2 seconds or 5 seconds. And so we would click it and then hold our breaths. and then it would, it was cool to see, because we were doing it. Cole helped us out a little bit. I mean, a lot of it. Any help is so good. He was very helpful. And we were just like practicing everything. We ended up moving I can't even remember what the code looked like anymore, but we kept moving something up in the scope. And so every time we did it, something different happened. And then the final time we did it, it was like what we wanted it to do. And we were like, yeah. So it was like, so that's how we tested it in our way. And then I assume, Mike, how did you test it this way? Did you also set a variable that was shorter, or did you go into the database?
Yeah, no, I just had it as like 5 seconds or something. And then right before I pushed it, I was like, okay, now 24 hours.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I feel like it would be more complicated to go into the database, change the time. So I did not even try it that way, to be fair, to be completely honest with you. I didn't do any time traveling, but no, this is great. So thank you again. Oh no, I don't want PHP. I don't want PHP.
Nobody does. Nobody wants PHP.
I hate PHP. I hate it. Okay, but thank you again so much. This week felt like a fever dream. So.
Well, I have to say, like, I really enjoyed mobbing on this in the office hours, and hopefully everyone got to see that this is not an easy issue, because at the end of office hours, we were like, well, we've been doing this for a little while, and we are extremely frustrated. So let's not do it for a little while, and then we're able to kind of walk away from it, which for me personally that helped. But you can see that these are really tough issues, and this one always makes my brain like melt a little bit when trying to figure out, wait, what in the past and then in the now, and then it's really hard. Future people watching this will understand it better, I think.
And to be honest, I did end up, like, we worked together Monday for a few hours, and then Tuesday took a break, but I looked at other repos from the Collab lab, because I was like, how have other people done it? And there are 1,000 ways to do it too. So I was like, well, I still have little direction. But that was really, and also they were all finished, so they were like completed repos, and it was like, it was cool to see like the different directions that other people took, because it's a problem, or not a problem, but it's an issue that, like, I assume happens in the real world a lot. So it's cool to see the different ways to do it.
Yeah. And one thing that was also really cool was seeing, like, we were up against the end, and we were like playing with things that we wanted ideally to use, which, like Jess had suggested, the server timestamp, which I think would have been way better if we could use it. But we ended up kind of looking at the time and saying, let's just go with something else, I guess. And that was also the kind of, like, in the real world, you have to, you get up against these things and you have to make trade-offs, and sometimes you have to decide on, you know, they say that perfect is the enemy of the good. You sometimes just have to go with the good to get it done, right? So I was happy that we were able to do that at least. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm glad that it's the next week. But it was cool. It was really cool to work with staff.
And I will say there are a lot of, like you said, a lot of different solutions. And I would encourage you to look through and see like maybe there's some better stuff, because there's some pretty negative trade-offs with what I did, which has every second it's updating state just randomly, which is not very cool. It has trade-offs. So it was just kind of a quick and dirty. Great work.
Thank you. I feel like, yeah, it feels like a long time since Monday, since we started on it, like truly. But
Oh,
yeah.
and I also liked reaching out to the other devs about things, because oftentimes, like, if something's out of your comfort zone or something where you just really don't know, you have no idea how to proceed, it's really useful. So I, for example, a few weeks ago had an issue that was like related to some area that I just don't know, and ended up going like, hey team, I can't do this. Let me go find someone who can. And then when I talked to my manager about that, they were saying that, you know, it shows that I can get things done because I knew to like who to ask and just going out. And your ultimate goal is just to get it done, right? Yeah. Cool. Do we want to, any other questions or comments, or do we want to get our retro on?
I feel good. I feel good about the retro.
Cool.
Just threw a link in the chat just in case anyone hasn't had a chance to take a peek at the retro board.
And I know personally, I have not added any tickets. Would we be able to have some time to add some?
Oh, absolutely. So I guess now we can get started. Did you want me to share my screen, or how do we normally?
I think like if you were to share your screen, you wouldn't be able to add tickets. So I don't know if you still have some to add.
I absolutely do.
But there are, and there are a million ways to do a retro, right? And but maybe one thing we could do is look at last time's kind of goal, what we had said we were going to do, and see how we did on those. That's sometimes a good way to check in at the beginning. We want to do that?
Oh yeah, let's go for that. All right, let's see here.
And with these kinds of things, you'll see all sorts of different types of retros. And I'm very blessed in my current company that they have a Scrum Master who like does all of the Scrum things and like kind of guides everyone. But personally, I'm horrible at Scrum Mastering.
Okay, gonna get in here to last times. Can everyone see last times?
Yeah, and maybe, oh, there we go. Yeah. Cool.
All right, so let's see. So these are our action items that we have. Do we want to do ways we can improve and action items, or just action items? Just action items.
I'm cool with that.
Okay, so we have communicate moving the project cards in Slack, taking breaks. The first group lets the other team know that the organizational changes and decisions that were made, and a quick check-in about how we'll organize things. So those were the 4 that we decided as action items. Let's check in and see how we think we did. Does anybody want to discuss any of these cards and their highs and lows of trying to achieve these 4 goals?
Yeah, I think I was, when it came to the group organization, I think I did a bad job reaching out to you guys, just in terms of like, when I worked with Steph a lot, of course, and then, so I think I could have gone better about communicating, especially towards the end of the week. So I apologize with that, but otherwise I think everyone else was so good. I know that Jess helped a lot at the end, merging everything, and that was amazing. And I think the breaks were better. At least, I know that we worked overtime, but we also still were like, okay, let's, and so and like it was all very good. I think I could have been better, but I think that everyone was on top of it. And then, yeah, and the project, and I mean, the project cards were moved, and it was all, it happened so fast. But it's cool being on a team. I don't know. It's like there's like things happen that I was like, oh shoot, that happened, and I felt like absent from it, and I apologize. But
Well, I did, from what I could see, I saw a lot more activity on Slack, especially at the beginning of the week, where people were communicating where they were, and that the code reviews were completed or ready to be reviewed. So it was good to see that. And I did hear that you did take a break eventually and waited for office hours. So that was good. I'm glad that you did make that decision consciously. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add about our action items? Okay, if that's the case, then we'll move on to the retro. And
Cindy, I wanted to comment that you are a master at making sure the silences are long enough, which I'm always really bad at. Which I love it. It's great. Yeah, because some people like they're gonna wait for a long time. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
yes, the awkwardness of trying not to talk over another person in a Zoom meeting can lead to these silences. So try to give you a chance to speak up. Let's see. Let's get into today's. So first, we're going to go with appreciations. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to write a few things. I'm going to open a separate window and see if I can just leave this up. And we'll go from there. So I'm going to check in with you 2 or 3 minutes. Put done in chat if you happen to finish early so that I know that we can get started. I'll give it another minute. Still waiting here. Oh, okay. So now it looks like we have everyone's comments. And I'll let Mike start, it looks like.
Cool. I will do both of mine at the same time. Wanted to thank everyone for bearing with me as we stumbled through the mobbing. Sometimes as like a mentor, I have a feeling like I should have all of the answers. And as you saw, I did not. So thank you everyone for being super patient. And I had a really good time kind of trying to figure this out with y'all. So I appreciate that. And also Zenzi, you've been absolutely wonderful. It's really, really tough for like in past groups, I haven't had mentors who were this dependable and competent and genuinely encouraging. And I really love the fact that I can feel comfortable, like that knowing that you'll that everyone's in good hands if I'm not here or something like that. So I really, really, really appreciate it. You're doing a great job.
Okay, I'm going to say mine here. Okay, so first, the first one is for Hans and Steph for just taking a break and asking for help. I think looking through old TCL repos is an excellent idea, very resourceful. And yeah, I love that idea. I wish I'd thought of it occasionally. Because you're right, there's 1,000 ways to solve an issue, and it's great to see what other people have done and just get familiar with reading someone else's code. Secondly, I want to just say that it's been really great watching you, first of all, take on more Slack and being more active there, but also seeing all of your social posts on LinkedIn and in Twitter. I think you're doing a great job with putting yourself out there, talking about what you're learning and discussing current projects. Please continue to keep it up. And let's see, I have at least one more. Okay, so yes, Jess and Cole for taking on that refactoring work. It's nice to have a stretch goal, especially if you feel like you were able to complete your work pretty quickly. So thank you for taking the initiative there. I'll leave it to Hans next.
Yay, all right, thank you. I always feel weird sometimes looking at other repos because I'm like, is it cheating? I'm like, but they're there. The internet's there. I'm gonna find it somewhere. So thank you for the validation. Let me look at mine. So yes, thank you for the extra devs and the extra eyes that are not you're part of our team, but like outside of our particular cohort. It's really helpful. This whole process has made me be better at asking for help. This also teaches me that a lot of people love to help, so that makes me feel good too. And then where are you? Oh yeah, Steph created our PR and that was really helpful. I feel like the last couple of days of the week I was like completely out, and so it was really lovely to have a group that was able to wrap it up without me. And I have guilt, but I do appreciate, like, I really love that it's there. I think that could also show like it's okay to disconnect sometimes or not always be there. I assume in work maybe that happens where like we will take on more work if someone else is out. So I appreciate it so much. And I know we didn't do a merge party this week. I know that there was a ton of conflicts, but I know Jess that also did her own little solo merge party, and that was really, really nice, and I appreciate it so much. And then what did I write earlier? Oh yeah, so it's like I wanted to solve everything. Of course, we wanted to get that solution, but last week's hours talking about how to be more mindful of what we're putting into this helped me. I mean, the stress was still there, but I was able to relax a little bit. Like when Steph and I talked about meeting before office hours again, but we were like, no, they told us not to. And so it's like that. I think it's good that we still want to solve the problem, but we are conscious of like what this particular commitment means. And so thank you for giving us that space to really, not, take the burden off as much as you can. So thank you. And I will give it to Jess, pass it to Jess.
Hey, so mine was basically thanking Hans and stuff for putting in so much work on like a really hard ticket. I would like peek at your branch sometimes to like see what was going on. And like I could tell you guys were having issues, but like you guys kept going and like I've been in groups where I haven't really trusted that other people were kind of like doing their part or like sticking with it. And I knew that like you guys would keep working at it and you guys would get help if you needed and like you would get it done. And then you guys were super resourceful with like looking at the other repos and talking to other devs and everything like that. So just like in general for the team, like I'm just really grateful for like all the trust I have in you guys to like do the best you can do. So thank you.
Let's see. I think Coles are the only ones that are left. Okay, yes.
Mine are thanking the group for the support, flexibility, and helpfulness. I mean, it makes you comfortable that if something like kind of what Jess just said, it kind of makes you comfortable that if you slip a little bit or you don't have the time, that people have your back, and it's very helpful. And also just the comfort of being able to ask other people for help and not feeling like you can't do that. And also the mentors, you guys have been great. You always give us the little extra information or ways we can improve. And it's always something very worthwhile, something that helps us improve. And so thank you for that. Jess, for her eagle eyes, she always, like I'm sitting there trying to solve the problem all the time, and she always sees something extra about how to improve it. Or if we kind of have stuck, she has so many times she catches things really quickly that saves us a lot of time. So I definitely appreciate that. Steph.
I said, thanks team for patience, guidance, and help during the last sprint. Everyone is encouraging and not condescending. Like I'm not like afraid to be like, hey, we're a little behind, or hey, we're gonna need like an extra day on this, or hey, mentors, what are we doing? What is code? like I'm not scared to like ask a question. Like it's a comfortable space, and I appreciate that.
All right. That went, I think, really well. Okay, so in the interest of time, I am going to give us like 4 minutes on this one because we're running pretty close to running over, and I don't know what everyone's time commitments are. So 4 minutes for what went well, and just put done in chat whenever you're finished. Okay, so now we're going to do what went well. If you're still writing, you can just finish your card and hit done, and it'll just show up at the bottom there. We're going to start with Mike again.
Yay. Yeah, I mean, one of our action items was like moving and communicating the moving of the tickets through the board, and that has been great. It's always wonderful when it's an action item that that was from a prior retro, so we can see the retros are working. I really like the trust and camaraderie that I'm seeing in the team. And Jess had used that word trust a bunch, which I think is essential and definitely evident here. And then the app is working great. Like the business logic is coming along, and we're getting close to all of the business logic there. Just a few more. Yeah, great work.
All right, so let's see, is that Jess up top?
Yep. So I put that like our workflow has improved a lot, I think, over the last couple of weeks. I mean, we always get things moving in the end, like working in the end, but just communicating about where we are and GitHub, moving the cards, and like we would all kind of like notice different features of GitHub and kind of like share those so that like we can kind of like, you know, adding contributors or approving things and all that. Like we're all just like sharing all that information. So I think things are moving a lot more smoothly now.
Okay, then we have one from Cole.
I don't know, I always can't find my unmute button. I put that pair coding was good. It's been good every week. It's a lot of fun. Implementing extra improvements, kind of like what Mike said about the forums, just noticing those things and just moving ahead. That was good. And then the teamwork. It's even though that problem was so difficult, it was so much fun jumping on it with Steph and Hans to try to figure it out. It was a tough ticket, but it was a fun one just to try to work through in your mind. So yeah, and definitely the communications. I know that was one of my failings. So I've been trying to do better about communication and the board and everything. So I think definitely improved on that.
Looks like Hans has the next one.
Yeah, so well, you know, just reaching out, getting comfortable to ask questions and ask for help. And, you know, I know that during the week, Jess, we would have had you come on there, but I know you were teaching. So I don't want you to think we didn't want you on there. But because I think with all four of us, I was like, we could have done it. You know what I mean? So it's cool it is cool just adding on top of the communication improving. Like I imagine what if, you know, if we could all work together at the end of this, we would be so good. Like it's cool to see how fast we get good together in just a few weeks with a problem that's with the project that's seemingly smaller than maybe real life ones. So it was really, I think this week was like a very telling week, you know, kind of wrapping it all up and being like, oh, this is a real team, you know, it's very heartwarming.
So the last one looks like Steph's.
I agree with everybody. I said the whole team supporting each other. Like, I don't know why, but this week, yeah, it like clicked. Like the team dynamic seemed to like click a little bit more. Like now we know how to communicate. Now we know how like we express ourselves, like each individual, and like we understand each other. I think a little bit better now because it's been a couple weeks, and yeah, like Cole jumped on with us. Jess was busy, but she did help us. She did the final merging into main. So appreciate that. Thank you, Jess. So yeah, like the whole team just like really felt like it was like we are a team. This is us now. So
Yeah, I think that's a nice one because it can give you some insight into how much time it could take as a new developer on a new team to really kind of mesh and start to feel like you're a part of that team and not just like quote unquote the new person. So yeah, great insight from everyone. Well, someone was saying something maybe? No? Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to what we can improve once again for minutes and done in the chat when you're ready. Okay. Looks like we're ready, and we're going to start with Jess.
So I just said more planning up front. I think sometimes we're like, hey, we have a certain amount of time. I think this is like how we should do it, and we kind of jump in, and then sometimes like halfway through, you're like, oh wait, maybe we should do it this way, or maybe if we plan things a little bit more up front, we could catch some things earlier, before we get like all the errors and we have to go backwards and figure things out. Um, yeah, so that's it.
I'll go next here. I just would like to hear more in Slack even, especially right after that pair programming session. If you could just let us know, okay, the session happened, here's where it stands, then I have a better idea of whether you're stuck, whether you succeeded and plan on moving on to some type of reach goal or taking a break. And I think that that will help even force you to stop if you're planning on doing a little bit more, just getting a little bit more help if you need it. Let's see, move on to Mike.
And mine's very similar to Zenti's, and I feel like her suggestion is kind of the action item that I would like to see. I feel like I didn't know that there had been so much work and there was so much struggle on one of the issues until office hours, and it would be great to just hear about that earlier. And just a reminder that Zenzi and I are here to help. So if you're struggling super hard on an issue, I think it was Hans that said she learned that people really like to jump in and help, and that's totally true. So yeah, so if it's earlier on in the week or at any point in you're feeling stuck, just don't hesitate to be like, I'm stuck, help. Yeah.
Okay, Cole, you can go next.
I just put that I think the comment idea is good for, especially for, not necessarily for everything, but if it's something maybe new to the project, like back when we were starting to deal with the database stuff and just stuff that may be new, a new concept, dealing with it differently. So I think that's a great idea. Try to do that.
Well, next it can be Hans.
Yeah, so I moved this from the action items, but it was the reach out for help sooner and know my own limits and pseudocode more, because I think that like Steph and I, after we worked on the date thing, that was like that issue solved for temporarily, right? She got some logic from her dev friend, and then it helped me logic, like pseudocode, and be like, okay, this is actually what I need to be doing. So I think that could be really helpful. And in this particular situation, maybe ask someone what they think of the pseudocode, especially for an issue that could be really complicated. Like maybe be like, before we start, we could be like, hey, Zenzi, does this make sense for this issue? Before I commit. And I assume it's different for different situations. Like if it's a job where you were working 40 hours, you could work on it more, but this, maybe that would be good to get, not permission, but be like, is this the right direction? Because we were going every which way. So maybe looking at that, and but especially with the next two issues are getting, more complicated than other ones too. So I'm like, maybe that's a good thing to do. So yeah, just like reach out before, maybe even starting sometimes to be like, is this dumb? Is this dumb? So that might be good.
Great. Oh, it looks like Steph, last one.
Yeah, mine's very similar to Jess's. I just said more complex problems I need to break down into smaller parts before I start coding, because, and I think part of it is like the time thing, that I'm just like, well, I have to get this done in this amount of time, let's go. But if you're not like thinking the whole thing through, then you end up backtrack and it takes more time. So that was the one thing that I also agree with, like more planning before we start typing, basically.
Okay, yeah, those seem good. I'm gonna go into action items, but I want to make sure that this is not a hard stop for anyone. It's on the hour right now. Yeah. Yeah, we're just gonna need I'd say 10 minutes, because we also have to hand out the issues after this.
Is that okay with everyone? And if not, we can try to figure out an async thing.
I'm okay.
It's
Yeah, I'm
fine.
fine.
I'm good.
All right, then let's 4 minutes on the clock again for action items, and done in the chat when you're ready.
So also, if we want to, just in the interest of time, we could maybe like do the action items together.
Oh, yes, that is a good one.
So I feel like, and oftentimes within these retros, and this board doesn't help us do it, sometimes with the what we can improve, you can group things together, because there's a lot of similarity when we were doing them separately, right? And so like one I see that's similar is there were things about planning and pseudocoding, so that kind of like figuring out the approach before writing the code, right?
Right.
So what do we think would be a good action item there?
Maybe within your pair, looking at the issue and going through pseudocoding and planning what you think would work. And if you're unsure if it's the right way to go, making sure to reach out for the teammates and for the mentor's approval, like if you think that's a good way to go.
Yes. Maybe,
I think
do we want to put something like maybe time boxing, planning at the beginning of a session, or?
It's like a brainstorm sesh.
I like maybe purposefully, like even if you have something that sounds good to start, maybe even just being like, just for the sake of it, think of one other way to solve this.
Yeah, and I mean, you can still kind of start working on the code while you're waiting for approval, but maybe you won't go as deep if you halfway through you get a message that's like, hey, why don't you try this? So can't hurt.
All right. That one.
And I like that that one also gets at, you know, the communication that Zenzi and I were talking about. Right?
Yes. I definitely kind of, it'll be part of the same thing, but I definitely would put post, Slack message after the pairing session. So if you just kind of were able to plan your solution and it all went perfectly and it was great, I'd love to hear about that success sooner than later. Is there anything that should be added or anything else that you want to take from improvement to action item? No. Okay.
I think both of those things are great. I think the planning is what got me the most.
Yes. Okay, does anybody else have anything else that they would like to add before we end our retro for the day? All right. Mike, are you doing issues today? I did not check.
Yeah, I think I am.
Okay.
And yeah, great job on the retro. The retros in my team, we usually give a full hour to them. So we're having demos, retros, issues. So it always feels like a lot. Okay, so issue number 9. As a user, I want to filter my shopping list to make it easier to locate an item in the list. Right, and so here we'll display a text field at the top. User types into the field, the list should narrow down to display only the items that are entered in. When the field has text in it, the user should be able to tap a UI element with an X button next to the field to clear the field. And I think we'll see this in the wireframe. And then the filter text should match any part of the item name, i.e. not just the beginning of it, but so if it's like banana, if you typed in Anna, it would match it, right? Wireframing. So we can see the filter item. It doesn't have the X in there. So field has text in it. The user should be able to tap a UI element with an X button next to the field to clear it. So this would mean there should be like a little X here, right, to clear. And yeah, and so you start typing and then it narrows the list down. Make sense? One thing, they give a great example terms of looking at this from a screen reader's perspective. So I'm not sure if y'all have played with screen readers, but you know, this one is really good if we wanted to go, and I'm not sure if you can hear it. Can you hear that? No?
I think
I'm
you
not
have to
looking.
share your sound like explicitly for it
yeah.
to.
I'd recommend, yeah, just give it a try and run through with the screen reader. And if you haven't played with the screen reader, they're great to get an idea of, and also just like you can see how a lot of people navigate the world, and it's really, really valuable. So, any questions on that? All right.
Will the sorry, will the X be just when we're typing? Like the default state is like search for something, and then if you type something, you can like in Google where like it has the X only if you're typing something, but it's that, am I asking clearly? Like
are you're thinking like it's only during the act of typing, or that it only appears when there's text in the field?
yeah, exactly. Like the default is just like the placeholder text, and then once there's something like one letter or the whole word, and then you can press X, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it shows up.
Yeah, I mean, you can really make, I think, your own choice on that. The like Google Material UI stuff, I think, has a little X built into it, but we're not yet bringing in an external library, and maybe you will or won't later on. But I'd recommend you can have just this X button that's there all the time, and then it can be enabled when there's text in the field, maybe. Yeah, that's how I would envision it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions on that? Okay. 10, and this one is a meaty one, as is number 9. They're both fun ones. So as an item, I want my next purchase date to be computed at the time my purchase is recorded in the database, so the app can learn how often I buy different items. And I like how this ticket's written, because you have to like put yourself in the position of the item, not even the user. It's kind of fun. Okay, so when a purchase is recorded, the estimated number of days until the next purchase should be calculated and recorded in the DB. And there is a helper in this that is calculate estimates in our utils. You can use that in order to calculate the estimated purchase interval. And we should have already installed that. Through the data that's needed is inputs to functions in the estimates .js. And maybe we can real quick see if we can find it. Wait, what's the package? What's it called? At the Collab Lab. This is total on the fly, no idea if we can, nope, it's not gonna look cool. Yeah, okay. So this is the calculate estimate function that we'll be using, and you'll be importing this calculate estimate. And so you'll kind of want to go through each of these and think about what are these. And a lot of this one is, how do we utilize this this package, right? And so in order to be able to pass all of these things in, we may need to think about kind of updating our schema in order to accommodate everything that we need. And we need to, within our schema, have like maybe I'm trying to remember what past schemas look like, but maybe within our brainstorming session, can think about, okay, what does our schema need to look like in order to have all of the information needed to calculate the next time. kind of making sense-ish? So right now, we're not really, when you click it, you're just saying the last purchase update, right? But we need to know maybe how many times have you purchased in the past, right? So maybe you'd be incrementing that. We have the last purchase date, right? Days since last transaction. And then we may want to have an estimate on there for the next purchase date, which would likely be what's returned from calculate estimate. Cool. Questions? Be surprised if there's no questions. Okay. So again, these are meaty. I would say 10 is, in my opinion, the kind of meatier one. Not to discount 9 at all, because 9 you have to deal with filtering and fun stuff like that. But 10, anything with data models, kind of makes my brain turn to mush. So our week 5, we have Cole and Hans and Jess and Steph. Any volunteers on who wants to take 9 versus 10?
Well, do you want to do the meaty one? I guess this one I have a question. Are you okay with it? I mean, I am down to take. I won't fight anyone over it. Like if Steph and Jess would like to do it, please feel free. I'm having trouble with this one, just visualizing it, because there's not the is this where like the colors come in, or is that a next one, or will this directly in it's all back end stuff, right?
Yes, so I don't think we implement the colors, but these will be what we'll be using in order to have the colors.
I see. Okay.
Right. Deleting in order of how soon I'm likely to need them. Okay. So I think this is what we'll use in 12. But right now we want to have the estimated purchase date. We want to be able to know it and save it in the database. And I'm just such a visual. I guess it's like, how do we that's what we have to figure out is how we test it. Yeah, you could maybe display it as a field, just number of days there. You could have it just like and log it or like look in the database that it was updated there. Yeah, so. Is this what you would call an algorithm? Is that what we're creating? Like kind of like the problem? Yeah, I think we're using this algorithm that's here. Okay. And this is what makes this a smart shopping list. Yeah. Right. And not just a shopping list. So yeah, we're definitely utilizing an algorithm for sure. And this will also give you some experience in trying to understand a library and to use it for your purposes, which happens all day, every day. All right, so how about Cole and Hans? Are you okay with this? Hans very firmly and strongly wants to take this one.
I'm not gonna fight her.
I'm like, come Tuesday afternoon, we will be messaging all of you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and definitely early. You run into trouble, have questions. I had to read through this like a bunch of times to kind of get it. And I'm still, every time I look at this ticket, I'm like, oh, wait, what? Did I get that right? Yeah, I don't know. So if you have questions, may need to, just ask questions. And then we may need to work through it together as we figure it out. So Jess and Steph on during COVID. Cool. Awesome. Good to go. Thanks for staying 18 minutes over, and apologies.
That's okay.
But wonderful job. We'll see everyone on Slack.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.